So today's topic is how to boost your conception chances naturally after 35. And this is a topic that is so dear to my heart. And of course, I could talk about it for hours. But today I'm going to try and keep it short. If it's possible for you, we have a time for questions and answers towards the end. So unless there is something unclear or you don't understand what I'm saying, because of course I have an accent, as you can hear, please feel free to interrupt me, but otherwise we will have a dedicated time towards the end of the presentation. Okay. So this is what we're going to cover today. I'm going to be addressing the different types of fertility challenges that women can face. And of course, I know that there is a 50% responsibility on the male partner as well. But today, and in general, I'm really working with women. So today I'm going to address that. I'm also going to address a few of the possible causes that we can have for infertility or fertility challenges. And I'm going to then present to you a few holistic strategies for optimizing your fertility naturally. And taking control is another big part, because I think that it's really important to have this shift in mindset. Because so many women that I see in my practice have been going through a lot, emotionally, medically, and they're being told what to do by many practitioners, and they're trying to just do what's best and what's right, but it's really hard to claim that control back and having this understanding and this connection to your body. So I think this is a big part also of what I do, and why I call my approach holistic, is because I don't want you to feel like you're working against your body, or that you are disconnected from your body, and that you are just, following external advice, external recommendations. I really want you to claim that power back. That's really important. And I'm going to give you towards the end a few resources that you can go to and that are going to support you on your journey. So that's the program for today. So first, I have a little quiz, and if any of this sounds like you, then you would most definitely benefit from a holistic practitioner's support and approach. So you are overwhelmed by contradictory diagnosis and medical opinions, or you are being told that nothing's wrong with you from the labs and all of the investigations that you have been going through. If you've been struggling with PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids for a long time, or anovulation, that's also something that we see a lot in fertility clinics. And or sometimes it's a late diagnosis of endo or PCOS that we have to face. And so we need to manage at the same time, taking into account this newfound diagnosis and the want and the desire for a baby. So that's also something that I usually have to juggle with. So if you are feeling in any of these situations, please know that you are not alone, and there's a lot of things that we can do to help you. But the real question today is, why should you listen to me? I am not a doctor. I am not a medical practitioner. However, what I am is a holistic coach, and I have a training in nutrition, mind-body connection, and anatomy and physiology. And I have been supporting men and women for over 4 years now. And I decided to specialize in fertility and perinatal nutrition during my own pregnancy in 2022. Because when I was pregnant, I was already a holistic practitioner, and I was already supporting women on their journey to hormonal balance. But getting pregnant and then staying pregnant, I suffered many of the, internal struggles and questions about what should I eat, what should I not eat, what supplements are the best. And all of a sudden, I realized there was this gap in my knowledge, and I wanted to learn more about that because I felt that if, as a holistic nutritionist, I did not have these answers, probably 99% of pregnant women didn't have these answers either. So I decided to do another certification in fertility and perinatal, so pregnancy and postpartum nutrition. So that was in 2022. And since then, I gave birth, I had my baby, and then I decided to dedicate my practice to helping women with their fertility struggles and their fertility challenges. That's something that I have been doing for a while, but not officially in like an organized setting. I was just helping women get pregnant, women with PCOS, hormonal imbalances, amenorrhea. And the results that I got from this holistic approach were absolutely amazing. So then I decided to really specialize in that and to create a protocol and a program that only addresses these fertility challenges after 35. So that's what I specialize in today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my own journey because I think it's important that you know where I come from, and not everything is as good as it seems today. I've been where you are. I have been struggling with fertility challenges. I have been dealing with hormonal imbalances. And yeah, so this is me at the age of 21. I was in a US college and I was very unhealthy. I was suffering from anxiety. I had a lot of hormonal imbalances. I had been on the pill since the age of 16 because they wanted me to manage my symptoms that were unexplained and uncontrolled. So I had been put on the pill. I had cystic acne. I had terrible sleep, terrible, lifestyle habits. I was, as you can see, drinking a lot, going out a lot, not sleeping. And I was really avoidant of my conditions because at the time it was not diagnosed as a condition and I was just feeling awful all the time. The mood swings were terrible. The skin was terrible. And this was in my 20s. And when I decided to go off the pill because the side effects were really terrible, I developed a whole set of terrible pain symptoms, other bursts of cystic acne. And all of these symptoms led me to try to investigate what was wrong with me. And I have been, sorry about this noise, I don't know what that is. And I have been diagnosed with PCOS. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it comes, so as a syndrome, it comes with a lot of symptoms such as hirsutism. So it's hair growth in areas where women usually don't have hair, cystic acne, blood sugar imbalances, and usually weight gain. So I was diagnosed with PCOS. I was given a treatment for PCOS, but then nothing changed. And the pain was actually worse and getting worse. And for years, I have been battling and struggling with internal medicine doctors. So think of Dr. House. I've seen a few of them, and no one was able to actually diagnose my issues. I finally got the matters into my own hands, and I started studying and researching and reading scientific papers. Given that my background is not in any of that, I'm a linguist and I'm a translator by training. So I decided to research everything and get my own help. And I discovered that based on everything that I read, what I had was most likely endometriosis. So I decided to book an appointment with the most renowned doctor in Paris who specializes in endo, and the waitlist was over 6 months. And when I saw him and he did the MRI, I finally was asked to go to his office, and he said, well, you have endometriosis. It's here and there, and it's very small. And suddenly I started crying. So the professor was very disturbed and upset, and he was like, oh, but it's not a big deal. Like, it's not so big. But I actually cried from joy because finally someone was acknowledging that there was something wrong with me. And when you've been struggling for years to understand what's going on in your body, and you feel that something is happening, but you don't know what, and no one is acknowledging you, and no one is listening, and people say it's in your mind, when finally you have the best professor that says, yep, it's here, you have that, it has a name, there's something we can do about it, then I was really relieved, if we can say that. So I've been dealing with PCOS and endometriosis my whole life. I started then to manage that with natural approaches. And that's when I started to shift careers and started studying naturopathic medicine and holistic nutrition. And I moved to Vancouver, Canada, and was certified in holistic nutrition. And I finally was able to support my own recovery and my own body. However, these conditions are autoimmune disease and inflammatory disease. And I was given a 20% chance of conceiving naturally with both of these conditions. And I would not take these odds. And I said I was going to craft my own fertility protocol, because with all of the knowledge that I had gathered throughout the years and during my studies and during my own experience, I said I would not accept these odds. So I crafted a protocol for myself, and I finally got pregnant naturally after less than a year of trying, at the age of 37. And so this is why I put these two pictures, because I want you to see like the journey. It's you know, even if you see someone on Instagram who looks like they have their life together and they're eating healthy and have a healthy body, well, you don't know where they come from, and you don't know what the journey has been, and it's most of the time it's not been easy for anyone. And I just want you to feel reassured that wherever you are today, there is always ways to improve and to go towards the right direction. So that was my personal story. I hope it's not oversharing. So what kind of fertility challenges do I see in my practice today? So I want to reiterate that I am not working for a fertility clinic, and I am not a medical doctor. I am a holistic practitioner, and I offer natural solutions, support, and I facilitate women who want to have babies after 35 and who are struggling with hormonal imbalance, or sometimes eating disorders, other types of stress-related issues which are impacting their fertility as well. So what I see is primary infertility. So primary infertility refers to an inability to conceive or carry a pregnancy to term after 1 year of regular unprotected intercourse in a couple who has never been pregnant before. So this is what is called primary infertility. Secondary infertility is the same thing, but for a woman who has already been pregnant before. So she has had a successful pregnancy before, and she's struggling to conceive again or carry another pregnancy to term. This can really be emotionally difficult, because these women usually think that they would easily get pregnant for the second or third time. And when they are facing these issues, usually there is a factor of a time issue, because since they already had 1 or 2 kids before, they really didn't think that it would take so long. So there is like this emotional pressure that adds up to that. There was I don't know if you've seen in the news, but there was a recent drop in fertility rates, and Singapore hit an all-time low, which is not a great record to be receiving. It has dropped below 1 for the first time in 2023, and it's at 0.97. So the government and the officials attribute this decline to economic factors, and they are starting to implement new ways for couples to receive support for childcare, helpers, maternity and paternity leaves, and all of that. But honestly, from what I see in my practice, this drop in fertility rates is not, at least for most of the couples that I see, is not voluntary. A lot of couples are struggling to conceive, and the reasons that I hear are not economic. The reasons that I hear are unknown and or linked to their health and hormonal balance. You also have age-related challenges that we're going to cover a little bit later. And we have the important one of environmental toxins. So when I say environmental, it's exogenous toxins. So toxins that you would absorb, ingest, put on your skin, inhale, and have in your home and your environment. So what are the specific challenges after 35? We have a few, and usually when you're over 35, you automatically get into a different category when you're at the doctor or the OBGYN. And I don't know if that rings a bell, but I have been coined to have a geriatric pregnancy, and I really love that term. It's very sexy. So what happens after 35? This is a very deliberate number that we pick, but there are some physiological reasons that we decided to set this age as a turning point where we have some additional challenges when trying to get pregnant. The declining egg quality and quantity is the first one. We can also be facing more nutritional deficiencies after discontinuing the birth control pill. So some women have been taking the pill for so long that they don't realize that when they stop, it's going to take quite a while for their body to recover from having taken the pill. And this was my case. So I did a whole protocol after stopping the pill because I needed to support my liver and renourish my adrenals and renourish all of the nutrients that had been depleted by the pill. The pill is depleting a lot of nutrients, including magnesium, zinc. It's destroying the gut flora. So all of that, you really need to be doing some damage control after stopping the pill. And usually after 35, some women have been taking the pill for 10, 20 years. And we need to do some damage control on that. There is an increased risk of pregnancy complications when you're over 35, such as an increased risk of miscarriages. We have a higher risk of undiagnosed endo, PCOS, and fibroids that have been going on for years, but sometimes women only realize they have been suffering from these when they are trying to conceive. So when that's what I was talking about when I started the chat. When we discover this diagnosis at the same time as wanting to have a kid, it's a lot to manage, and it's generally quite hard to combine those two goals at the same time. So that's also something that women need support with. Irregular ovulation or anovulation is also something that we see increasing after 35. And the stress and social pressure is also of course, it seems obvious to state, but that's also something that's going to really increase, how would I put it? Increase and add unwanted stress on a situation that's already stressful. So the more time passes, the more the stress increases, because, you know, like clock is ticking, blah, blah, blah. So there is also this internal pressure that's starting to build, and of course, social pressure from family, parents, you know, everyone is different, but sometimes that can add up as well. There is higher professional demands after 35, so that's also adding to the stress load of wanting to have a baby after 35. Hormonal imbalances. What does it mean when we say someone has a hormonal imbalance? It can mean a lot of things, but most of the things are listed here, and I'm going to quickly go over them. This is by no means a way of diagnosing. I'm just trying to clarify and explain a few of the terms you might have heard before, so that it's a bit easier for you to follow. So ovulation disruption is quite clear. It's irregular or anovulation, so the lack of ovulation. So that does not mean you don't have a period. That means that your egg is actually not released. So it's very different from missing a period. There is some hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and LH that play crucial roles in regulating ovulation. And as a woman ages, these hormones can become imbalanced over time, and thanks to the help of endocrine disruptors and the birth control pill and other factors. And it can lead to irregular or absent ovulation. And as you can imagine, without regular ovulation, the chances of conception would decrease. The luteal phase defect is a common issue related to progesterone deficiency. So it's actually increasing also with age. It's a shortened luteal phase. So the time between ovulation and your menstruation is going to be shorter. This shorter luteal phase is going to prevent the uterine lining from being fully prepared for implantation. So this is going to lead to difficulties in maintaining a pregnancy. So if we have a short luteal phase, just think of it as your body not getting enough time to get the room ready for baby. So even if there is conception, then the embryo might have a hard time attaching to this environment. We also have absolute or relative estrogen dominance. So this would be a ratio of estrogen to progesterone that is too high. So that's also a hormonal imbalance. PCOS is usually higher testosterone. Thyroid dysfunction and adrenal fatigue, they go together, they go hand in hand. I mean, I see so many women with thyroid imbalances that go undiagnosed because the usual labs that we run are not targeting most of the time the right markers for thyroid dysfunction. So we need to look at that, because it's going to be very hard to maintain a pregnancy with that type of imbalances. And adrenal fatigue, it means you have high cortisol, and high cortisol is most of the time linked to low progesterone, and progesterone is the hormone that you need to maintain a healthy pregnancy. So we need to work on the adrenal fatigue, and we need to work on your cortisol levels before we are able to maintain a healthy pregnancy. High FSH is going to be another one, a low egg reserve, because some women have a lower egg reserve after age 30, and a low AMH, which is also linked to the number of eggs that you have. What could be signs of imbalances? So if everything that I just mentioned is still kind of blurry or unclear, these are some signs that might be indicating that you suffer from some type of hormone imbalance, once again, this is not a diagnosis, and you should absolutely ask for support if you think that you may suffer from one of these. But these should be orange or red flags if you have them and have been having them for a long time, okay? Or if they've been increasing. So irregular cycles, severe PMS, unexplained weight changes, so gain or loss, persistent acne, skin dryness, vaginal dryness, other skin issues or rashes, fatigue and low energy are usually a sign of either nutritional deficiencies that need to be looked at, or it could also be a sign of thyroid dysfunction. Mood swings, depression, anxiety, of course, you need to seek help for that, because these are really serious things, and you can definitely get good support for that. Low libido is also a sign of some kind of hormonal imbalance, and hair loss or excessive hair, as I mentioned before with PCOS, could also be a sign of hormone imbalance. There is also something that I really want to talk about. It's the environmental toxins. Heavy metals, mold, and other common pollutants are really important and are going to really impact the ability of your body to conceive. This is something that unfortunately we see a lot in Singapore, especially with the mold thing. We live in a tropical country and climate, and we have a lot of mold issues. Mold is not only a respiratory problem, it's also a systemic problem, meaning that mold can also affect your digestive system, affect your your reproductive system, such as with recurring yeast, recurring candida. A mold environment can actually promote these kind of conditions that are going to affect your fertility. Heavy metals, most people can be subject to heavy metal toxicity when they have teeth fillings. So fillings that are metal colored usually do contain some type of mercury. And the other big thing that I see from my clients in Singapore is heavy metal toxicity with high arsenic in their system. The two highest foods high in arsenic in the world are chicken and rice. So for people who eat chicken and rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, since they are 5 years old, and these are conventionally raised, probably with antibiotics, and are not organic and maybe not the best quality, then we can see a high dose of arsenic in the system, which is a heavy metal, and we don't want to have that. So that's also something that needs to be considered. The food sources and the food quality is really impacting the type of environmental toxins that you can have in your body. Tap water is another one. Endocrine disruptors is a very big one. This is something that I work on a lot with my clients. So removing all of the endocrine disruptors from your home, cleaning products, scents, candles, perfume, makeup, personal hygiene, laundry detergent, all of these things can actually accumulate and have an estrogen blocking or mimicking effect in your cells. Stress, already told. Sleep or lack of sleep is also an environmental factor. Diet and physical inactivity, so lack of physical activity, is also a big one that is going to impact your hormones. So what is nutrition for fertility? We have to look at it as a multifaceted topic, right? So we have what we eat, we have specific nutrients, we have the quality of what we eat. So not only the choice of food, but also where we get that food from. we have to look at the calorie intake. So most women that I see, and you're going to be super surprised, most women that I see do not eat enough calories. Super surprising, right? Because most women are always like, oh, I need to lose a few pounds. I need to, look at what I eat, maybe go on a diet. But when I see what there is in their plates on a day-to-day, usually they don't eat enough calories, meaning they don't fuel their bodies enough. What do you think is going to happen if you don't fuel your body enough and you're trying to create a new life? That's going to be really tricky for your body to do. Where I'm going to quickly talk about fertility boosting foods and some foods to avoid. And you can also, to really make sure that you boost your own fertility and you give the best chance of success, you can also have specific meal plans and a tailored diet that is going to be really helping your own personal needs during this beautiful goal of yours. Key nutrients that we need to look at when working on fertility are folates, iron, omega-3s, vitamin D, vitamin E, which is an antioxidant. Zinc is a really important one for fertility, both for men and women. Calcium and magnesium, these you always hear about, but they're really important when trying to conceive. Coenzyme Q10 and iodine. Iodine is not something that we hear about a lot, but it's also really important for thyroid health. So where can you find these foods and what are some fertility boosting foods? So first, you have leafy greens, you have berries. Nuts and seeds are another amazing source of minerals and fiber and healthy fats. Fatty fish, whole grains, avocado, legumes. So legumes is lentils, chickpeas, beans, eggs, sweet potatoes, pumpkin seeds. I already mentioned nuts and seeds, and beets that are also rich in folates. But some more local options are mangosteen, super rich in folates, papaya, coconut, and longan. These are all really good for supporting your fertility. Now, what should you be avoiding when trying to conceive? You should avoid, first and foremost, processed foods. Because processed foods, so when I say processed foods, is anything that's packaged. So, so like industrial, pastry or cakes or cookies, all those meals that come in a pack, these are processed foods, and they are usually very high in trans fats, palm oils, and other types of preservatives that are very pro-inflammatory, and we don't want that. We should also avoid overly sweet, sugary foods. Caffeine, it's not that you should avoid caffeine, but you should reduce your caffeine intake to around 2 cups per day. For some of you, that's going to seem very low, and I know that some of my clients are up to 9 cups. So I try to reduce it slowly, but it's really important to lower caffeine intake. Caffeine is treated as a toxin by your liver. So when you are staying away from alcohol because you're trying to conceive, but then you're having 8 cups of coffee per day, then you're still putting a lot of stress on your liver. Large fish should be avoided because of the heavy metal contents, especially the mercury. So when I say large fish, it's swordfish, tuna. All of these fish are having have a high chance of containing a lot of heavy metals. So the smaller the fish, the better. So sardines, anchovies, mackerel, all of these small fish are better for you, and they're also high in omega-3s. So that's a win-win. You should also look at, whenever possible, buying organic or grass-fed poultry or beef. This is really important to to have the best quality possible from the food you get and to lower your exposure to pesticides, herbicides, and potentially GMO. So that's the part about food. Now I want to quickly talk about stress. And I know that stress management is not something you want to hear about when you're trying to conceive because you're already stressed enough, but I can assure you that this component needs to be looked at and needs to be addressed. Your stress, when your stress is high and you have chronic stress, or you have been through a burnout, or you just have a constant low level of stress, this is when our adrenal glands, so these are the tiny brown hat-shaped glands that you see on this picture on top of the kidneys, they produce too much cortisol, which cortisol is a hormone. These adrenal glands are part of the same system as our reproductive organs, which is the endocrine system. So this is the same system, right? When stress takes over, it can throw off the balance in our reproductive system and affects our ability to conceive. This is because stress in the way that the human has been conceived, stress is meant to keep you alive. Stress is the fight or flight hormone, right? So fight or flight reflex. So fight or flight means whatever it takes to keep you alive. So when we produce cortisol, this is shutting down all of the other pathways that feed the other organs, such as the reproductive system, because the priority for our body is to stay alive, is not to have a baby, because we feel threatened in a way. Of course, today it's not a life or death question, because the stress that we do face does not threaten our lives, but our body doesn't see the difference. And our body is still prioritizing our stress hormones over our reproductive hormones. So if we don't manage that stress, we're still going to be in a lot of trouble to conceive, because the body does not feel safe enough to conceive. So that's really something that we need to address. And for me, this is even something that I work on before working on the diet. Because if your body doesn't feel safe, there is no way that your body is going to be able to conceive. So how do you cope? How do you cope with stress? Prioritizing stress management should be, if you think that you suffer from chronic stress, is something that you should look at first thing. Taking a conscious approach to managing stress is difficult, but also is important for now and also for the future, because it's going to be learning some tools that you are going to have in your back pocket for whenever you need them. So that's something that I work on with my clients, both with changes of habits. Certain supplements are going to replenish your adrenal glands, so the glands responsible for producing the stress hormone. But it's also different habits in terms of exercise, in terms of sleep, and in terms of food habits. So the type of foods that you eat and the time at which you eat them is going to impact your stress levels as well. So that's something that we look at. And exercising with the proper amount of exercise at the proper timing is also going to be something that will either increase or decrease your stress. So I want to point out that having regular physical exercise is crucial for everybody. However, it needs to be adapted to your own stress levels. So whatever you see on Instagram or on YouTube, or that your friend is doing and she's doing amazing on it, that might not be the right thing for you. So you really need to work with a practitioner who understands your body, understands your stress response, and knows what is best to recommend so that it does not aggravate the situation. Okay, so I'm not saying exercise is bad. I'm just saying what type of exercise will best support your body and your hormones is different for everybody. Prioritize yourself. I know it's hard, especially when you're already, you know, a wife or a mom, or you have a lot of work, your professional demands are high. It's hard to find a way to say, okay, that's okay, I'm going to prioritize myself and not feel guilty about it. But I see a real shift in my clients when they make that decision. And it's not selfish. You're not doing it just for yourself. You're doing it for everyone else around you. Surround yourself with a superstar support team. And this is something that I really vouch for. Being surrounded by the right people that work for you or that work with you or that support you is going to really make a tremendous difference. And key number 3, feed your body, but also feed your soul. Whatever lights you up, do it. These are a few of the available resources that I do recommend when you're trying to conceive. There is this amazing local Singaporean group that's called fertilitysupport.sg. You can reach them on Instagram or Facebook. And they're doing talks and events. They even did a fair back in April. And they're an amazing place to find resources. If you're trying to conceive and you have been out of options, I recommend seeking different types of professional help. So I recommend hypnotherapy, TCM, womb healing, breathwork, of course, nutrition, personal trainers that are trained and aware of the hormonal impact of training. Psychiatrists are great, some therapists. EMDR is also something that you could consider if you have suffered a loss, or if you have suffered some unsuccessful rounds of IUI, IVF, and you feel that it's really taken a toll on your mental health and your emotional health. EMDR is something that is really quick and effective at relieving your body from the stored trauma from these experiences. The few books that are my Bible books around fertility nutrition are Real Food for Fertility by Lily Nichols. Starts with the egg. It's a classic, but it's still worth mentioning. And Infertility, this one is quite funny. It's the journey, not just funny, but also full of resources. But it's also a good one. This is a summary of the key points that we covered today. I really recommend understanding your unique bio-individual fertility challenges, because being told that you have unexplained fertility or there's nothing wrong with you is not a good enough support and a good enough approach. So working with a professional who understands your unique challenges is going to be something really important. Identify what's undermining your chances. So same thing, identifying amongst all of the factors that I talked about today, identifying what would be hindering your chances the most and trying to reduce that is going to be also a big part. Support your body with the right nutrients, quality of food and supplements, and quality of supplements is also a really important one. Eliminate harmful substances from your life. So environmental factors, endocrine disruptors, something in your home, having a air purifier, getting rid of the mold. So all of these interventions we can work on together. Embrace tools that effectively help you manage stress. So I have a set of very different tools depending on the people. So it doesn't have to be meditation. It can be something more active, but there is a very wide array of tools that you can use to manage your stress. Establish a strong support system. So it doesn't have to be your family or your friends, but you can join a group, you can join a WhatsApp group, you can join Facebook groups, you can have the right practitioners around you so you can ask your questions. So all of that is going to be really, really important to get you through this phase of your life. work with your body's cues and not against them. So whatever your body is showing you, even when it's annoying, like losing your hair, having a rash, having acne, your body, it's your body's way of communicating with you. So you should use these cues as telltale signs that your body is struggling and your body is trying to tell you something. I'm not saying it's easy to understand, but I'm saying that instead of repressing and shutting down anytime we have a symptom, it's best to actually listen to it and try to understand what is going on. And be open to try new approaches for different results. That's also something that maybe, you know, some of the things you read today or you heard today, you're like, meh, I don't know, it sounds weird. Be open because you don't know. And if you've been trying the same things over and over and it didn't give you the results that you expected, maybe it's time to try something different. This is the program, the fertility program that I have created and have launched the first cohort in last April. I have created a 6-week fertility program in which I cover all of these topics and the topics that I talked about today. So of course, fertility nutrition, meal plans, stress management, and I also talk about a big one for hormone balance, which is blood sugar stabilization, so blood sugar management. Gut and vaginal flora, we don't talk about that at all when we go to the fertility clinic, but this is actually super important. If the bacteria, if the flora in your vagina is not balanced and is not helpful, and it's not a good environment, it's going to be very hard to maintain a pregnancy. So that's also something I work on. I'm working on the detox of heavy metals and endocrine disruptors, and I'm working on restorative sleep. So this is my signature Conceive with Confidence program. I have onboarded hypnotherapist practitioner. I have onboarded a manual therapist that is going to do and teach you some auricular therapy and some self-massage for lymph flow. So it's not just a one-person program, but it's something that I worked on with different practitioners. But this is a one-of-a-kind holistic fertility program. There's nothing else that exists on the market. And even in the US, I looked for it. There's nothing like that. The first cohort was, for now, we have, I can't really announce, but we have had good results. So yeah, I can only recommend. If you are interested, I will share a link to book a discovery call with me free of charge. You can just have a chat with me and see if I can support you on your journey, see if it's a good fit. I'm happy to always have a chat, no strings attached. And yeah, this is a testimonial from one of my fertility clients. So yeah, if that's okay with you, I'm going to pop the link in the chat box, and you can just book a free discovery call with me and ask away your questions. If you don't feel comfortable sharing your questions here, it's also okay to book a discovery call to ask your questions one-on-one. It's okay. I'm happy to do so. This is not just my job, it's my passion. I love supporting women and empowering women with knowledge, because I think that knowledge is everything. If you understand your body better, I mean, that's what I went through. As soon as I understood my body better, I was able to support it. So that's it for me. I'm going to open the mic to everyone, and just if you have questions, feel free to ask them here.
Hi, Marie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry to abandon you all. Welcome back to our Bumpwise Coffee Mornings. My computer just is not behaving. And I want to say thank you for such a great talk, and for your knowledge and your personal story and the depth that you can approach this, and from so many angles. And thank you for taking over, Marie, kindly. I want to welcome everyone. But as always, this is all about you, beautiful ladies. And what do you need to know? What are the things that are important? So please ask away. And Marie, if it's okay with you, we've had one question posted. So I just want to quickly get that answered for her. Elle had to leave, but she's asking, she says, I've never had irregular menses before. My first child, my child's 15 months. My menses is 1 week late, followed by 1 week early. Does this affect my readiness for another round of IVF or egg retrieval?
So my menses is 1 week late, followed by 1 week early.
Uh-huh.
So I think what she's mentioning is that her cycle has become irregular since she gave birth to her child. I mean, if it's a one-off thing, I wouldn't say that this is affecting her chances, but once again, I'm not her doctor, but this is definitely, if this is something that keeps recurring, it's definitely something that we can support her with, and rebalancing her hormones and making sure that she has everything that she needs. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Marie. So just to quickly ask this question. So
Oh,
having
hi.
hello, 1 week late and then followed by, and then the next month is 1 week early. So I was very confused. So is this normal? Is this due to, like you mentioned, hormonal imbalance?
So this happened twice, right? So one cycle was early, one cycle was late.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. I would keep monitoring that. I would not jump to conclusions too quickly, because I mean, you are 15 months postpartum, right? This is still quite early for your body to find back its balance. And I mean, if you have been breastfeeding, there's also a lot of shifts in your hormones that have been going on. So I would not get too worried if it's only 2 cycles that have been like that. And I would not, I mean, it's good to track it. It's good to pay attention to it, but I would not be too concerned for now if it's only these 2 cycles. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I see there's a few other questions. Sorry, I need to drop them in the call, but thank you. Thank you, Nicole. What's EMDR? EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprogramming. So EMDR is a technique that is being used in hospitals and in war zones and after terror attacks, because it's very, very quick and effective at desensitizing trauma. And of course, I just mentioned, war zones, terror attacks. So everyone is like, I just had a miscarriage. Like, no, a trauma is a trauma. Like you cannot compare anything to what other people have lived. And I know that these episodes, and it doesn't have to be a miscarriage. It can just be, the trauma from all the doctor's appointments and the injections and the way that your body reacted to the IVF treatments, and the trauma from, getting your period while you were expecting to see a positive pregnancy test. Like all of this repeatedly can create a trauma, and that's okay. And we're not here to to judge or whatever. EMDR is really effective at desensitizing that type of trauma, and it's important to do so, because since your body can store trauma in its cells, it's important to acknowledge that, and it's fine, and there's nothing to be ashamed of, but it's also best to seek help whenever you think that can be useful. And
Thank you so much. But what is it? This is me. I guess just it's interesting. I never heard about that. What do they do in the program?
Okay. So actually, a session with the EMDR therapist is usually a psychotherapist who is trained in EMDR, And he or she would usually go through whichever traumatic event that you want to address or to talk about. And they are doing a eye movement. So that's the name of the thing. So you would follow a pointer with them and then they would see which part of your brain is activated when your eyes are in a certain angle and certain direction. And they see this kind of glitch in your eye. And since the nerve ending, the optic nerve, is that the name? The optic nerve is triggering something in a part of your prefrontal cortex. I mean, I'm no expert, maybe I explained this wrong, but there is something with the eye positioning and
interesting.
And the triggering of something in your brain, and they work with that. So it's actually a physical way of doing therapy because they're working with the physical positioning of your eyes, and they can even do it on babies and on kids because you don't have to talk about it. You don't have to, rehash your story again and again. You can just, the kids cannot talk about their trauma, but they can still desensitize kids because they find that point and then they just have them process the emotions through their body. And after 1 or 2 sessions, usually they already feel better.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, my pleasure. You're welcome.
Thank you, May, for your question as well. For those of you who don't know, we also at Bumpwise have there's a group called Trying to Conceive. So that was, as always, we take the requests from our community and try to put together groups that make sense to all of you. So please join that group. We're going to share more there because it's mother to mother. I think that that's another aspect, as practitioners, and, we can, give us that information, but it's really lovely to share within that community your stories and that support that that Marie's been talking about. So I think that hopefully you've given us great resources and just one more resource just to think about. But Marie, thank you again. We're going to have this recording put on YouTube. I apologize. I've gone in and out about 100 times, but I've really enjoyed the talk. I think you're wonderful. I think we'll post your upcoming event as well, because we want to make sure all of you know about that. And we'll continue to support your work in any way we can. If anyone else has any other questions, I think
I did not answer Julia's question on supplements.
Okay.
Is Julia still here? Wait.
You can just answer anyways, because we'll have the recording.
Okay. What supplements should your husband take to improve fertility? Yeah, good one. One of the really important ones is zinc. Zinc is a very big one for male fertility. The other one is CoQ10, CoQ10. And I think fish oil, like antioxidants in any type of form of antioxidant, is really important. We need to also make sure that men and women get enough protein, because protein is a huge one. But mostly for men, this is a very big generalization, so please don't take it the wrong way. But for men, it's mostly cleaning out the diet and the gut, because most men pay less attention to the quality of what they eat than women. That's a generalization. I don't know your husband, but mostly we are going to have to cut out some bad habits or like not the best quality of foods, support the gut health. So with probiotics or rebuilding the immunity, and sometimes working on detoxification and removal of heavy metals as well. So yeah, that's the few things that come to mind right away without knowing your husband. So yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome, Julia. Anyone else has questions?
No, I think that's probably it. I think we're at time now, and so I'm just going to be mindful of everyone. But thank you again, Marie. I apologize again, everyone. But welcome back. Have a wonderful the rest of your week, and we'll all keep in touch. And have a lovely week too, Marie. We'll see you later.
Thank you, and thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for listening. Have a great
Bye.
Bye bye.